Hey everyone, welcome back to Nebraska Shoot Around, where we talk Nebraska men's basketball. Jacob Padilla and I and Mike Sautter here talking about that. But first, let me tell you about the Omaha Supernovas. It's pro time, and it's been pro time, Nebraska. The Omaha Supernovas have hit the court already for 3 matches. Their next match, home match, is Sunday, February 18th against the Orlando Valkyries at the CHI Health Center. First service set for 5 p.m. You can still get season tickets or single game or single match tickets at supernovas.com. Okay, Jacob, 2 road losses for Nebraska. Tough stretch.
2 very different games as well.
Completely different games. Tough stretch for Nebraska. They knew it was going to be a tough stretch with the Wisconsin game. They got one, right? I mean, that matters.
They might have broken Wisconsin in the process.
They probably did break Wisconsin, to be honest. It's very interesting. Like, yeah, Michigan beat Wisconsin. That's something.
Talk about Michigan at the end.
Yeah. So Illinois, good, really good. Keisei Tominaga went off. He had a career high 31 points. He was 9 of 14 from the field, 5 of 7 from 3. I mean, he just did whatever he wanted to. And Brad Underwood paid him a big compliment. I mean, Terrence Shannon guarded him, and Brad Underwood basically said Shannon he didn't know. There's nothing he could do. So, and Terrence Shannon's a really good player.
Yeah, and
so
8 of 8 from the foul line too. Like, he just scored in every way. He made some nice passes as well. It was a huge breakout game for him after that slump that he had been in the previous 3 games.
And Rink coming back and playing well too with 22 points certainly helped.
Yeah, and he's so Rink over his last 5 games is 15 of 32 from 3.
Yeah, not good. Well, that's good.
No, that's really
great.
really good.
Yes.
It's because he had gotten off to a really slow start in conference play, and now recently it looks like he's been pulling out of it. But unfortunately, obviously, Tominaga had a 3-game slump, and now C.J. Wilcher has struggled the last couple after the incredibly hot tear that we had talked about in the last couple of pods.
Yeah.
They just can't quite get all their guys rolling at the same time. But, yeah, this Illinois game, like, came out of it, 87-84 loss in overtime. Had a chance to win at the end of regulation with the stop, couldn't get it. It was a wild game. I mean, they were down by 10 with 3.5 to play.
And came back. It was
11-0 run to take the lead. Yeah, and it was different guys making plays. Like, during that run, they had a Bryce Williams pull-up 3 who had struggled all game long. Only 3 he made was stepped up and knocked it down.
3,
yeah,
big time.
Keisei had the layup in transition. I think that was a right-handed one. Rink got to the foul line. Juwan Gary got to the foul line, and then Mass gave them the lead with 9 seconds left with a little kind of driving hook off the glass. And Illinois, they certainly helped Nebraska's comeback with just firing up a ton of threes.
They weren't real patient. Yeah,
I mean, they were still offensive rebounding.
Shot selection was a little rough. Yeah.
Even they were getting second chances and then taking up more threes that weren't going in. So they opened the door. Nebraska barged right through it to take the lead. Unfortunately, Nebraska called timeout to get their offensive lineup in for that last offensive possession. And Illinois did not call a timeout after the bucket. They just immediately pushed it. And Marcus Domask, one of their best players, right away went right at C.J. Wilcher, got his hands on him, and then kind of.
It was a foul, but I get it in the moment, like how it can feel like it's a little questionable. Because when I first saw it without going back and looking at it, I was like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
the problem is
kind of one of those, like, it is a foul, but it's also, in the situation, it's like, barely.
Yeah, CJ he's got to be ready. He was kind of caught off guard, and the guy's got to step on him and immediately put the arm on him. And at that point, now you're out of position, and you're at the mercy. If he goes up with your hands on him, then good chance that they might call the foul there. It's just put themselves in a bad spot there. He split the 2 free throws, so they didn't end up losing on that play, going to overtime.
That would have been the worst. Yeah. I was, oh my gosh, they're going to win this game with free throw line.
Yep. Yeah. So he opened the door, played an extra 5 there, and went back and forth. A few lead changes to start overtime. Then they had a couple shots rim out, and Illinois had a rink mash rim out, and then Guerrier hit a three,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, here we go. Now
Felt good at that moment.
Yeah, and so they kind of made a little push there, but Nebraska, they didn't quit. They Casey hit a tough three, or had one rim out. They 27 seconds left, got to the line and hit two, and they put Domaska at the line. I mean, just back and forth, a lot of fouls down the stretch there.
There was in the overtime.
Yeah, it was basically the entire overtime. So you get it down to a chance to tie it there. It's 3-point game, last possession there for Nebraska, and they run Mast off a ghost screen.
And he just lost it.
And,
probably got fouled.
And Coleman Hawkins jumped at Casey, handling the ball with Shannon on him. Casey turned around and threw the pass to Rink. So it was a good action. I think the pass, because of Shannon there and his length, Casey kind of had to loop it a little long. It didn't have quite enough heat on it. Kind of took a while to get him there. And by the time that Rink caught it and was going up, Shannon had been able to recover over there.
Yep.
He hesitated because would have had a hand in the face on the three instead of shooting it.
He may or may not have fouled though, too.
And it is like it's tough when you see similar plays, because they had a tie-up, an apparent tie-up called a foul.
Sam.
Yeah,
in the corner
when they were pressing, would have given them a chance there. Would have been a big play there, but didn't get that call, and then did Illinois. Was a play on there with the strip there, and it was basically a ball game. But that's
Sam Hoiberg. We talked about him. I mean, I feel like I keep talking about him, but he's played extremely well. Not scoring a ton, right? But that's okay. They don't need him to do that. They need him to defend people. So Illinois game, like, he continued his really good play and giving them positive minutes, and plus minus stuff has actually been pretty good. And I mean, it's doing his job, I guess, would be the term.
Yeah, and they shot well at 12 of 28 from three, 43%. Unfortunately, they're only 14 of 40 inside the arc, which
wasn't great.
Shot a lower percentage from two than three. Only scored 26 points in the paint, and Mast was 4 of 12 on twos, and that really hurts you. Bryce Williams was 2 of 7 on twos, and those are basically your two best shot creators there outside of Casey and the way he was playing. So didn't get enough in that area. And then you said the offensive rebound, and they gave up 17 offensive rebounds. Illinois only converted them into 12 points, but that's plus 8 in second chance points and an overtime loss.
Nebraska only got 5 offensive rebounds because they don't, for some reason, aren't capable of getting offensive rebounds on the road.
Yeah, it's weird because they started the season. It looked like it was going to be a strength.
Outside of K-State and Juwan Gary getting 11 himself, it's been a struggle. It really has. It's not good.
So, a few more box outs in the second half there. Nebraska has a chance to win that thing in regulation, but unfortunately, they didn't make the play. That being said, you come out of this game thinking missed opportunity, but they play like that. Like, Illinois is ranked 10th in the country, and they went to their place and nearly beat them. Like, you play like that the rest of your road games, you're going to win some of these games. And so they followed it up, heading over to Evanston, and they did not play like that. Yeah. 80-68 loss to Northwestern. It wasn't really that close.
Yeah, it was the score was closer than the game.
Yeah. Nebraska made kind of a fake comeback late, cut it down to 9 with a minute to play, but that was it.
Started real well. They had it was 21 at 11 minutes, at 11:50 or something like that, right? Am I right?
Well, so what happened? They just gave up the scoring droughts showed up again. Northwestern went on a 14-2 run.
The three things in league play that has hurt Nebraska the most: scoring, like long scoring droughts, 3-4 minutes long, where they don't score, right? Offensive rebounds and turnovers. It's the three things that have just killed them.
All present in this one. Northwestern went on a 14-2 run to take a 30-15 lead in the first half.
Yeah.
They extended out to 17 before taking a 16-point lead in a halftime, and
they could not guard Boo Boo.
No, he had 17. So he was 2 for 15, I believe. Against Nebraska in Lincoln. He made his first 3 shots in this one. So
he had 17 of his 22 in the first half.
And Northwestern as a team, 8 of 16 from 3.
Yeah,
and
in the first half.
They got they got a lot of clean looks. And that's kind of how they were able to build that lead. So in addition, 8 of 16 from three, Nebraska was 2 of 11. And Nebraska's 7 turnovers led to 14 points for Northwestern. So that's how you build yourself a big deficit at halftime. They cut it down to 11 with about 7 minutes into the half, and then that scoring drought. They did not score for 5 minutes and 12 seconds as Northwestern went on 10 straight.
Balloon the lead to 21.
Yep. And then 9, like I said, 9 was as close as they got, and that was with minimal time remaining. So
it felt they got it to like 13 with about 5 minutes left, and you felt like, okay, if they could just get this to 10 or less with 4, then they definitely can win. And they just couldn't get a stop.
No,
like they couldn't get a stop. It was bad. Like a lot, basically, outside of Jamarcus Lawrence off the bench and Jawan Gary played pretty well, but he fouled out with 5 minutes left or something.
And that was noteworthy.
They started with a big lineup. Started the game with a big lineup, and
put
maybe
Jawan Gary in the lineup, took Jamarcus Lawrence out, moved him to the bench,
and maybe that threw him off or something in the beginning of the game. I don't know. It was flat. It didn't feel right from the jump.
They actually got off to
wasn't very good.
Yeah, they actually got off to a decent start offensively. Like it was 12-10.
Yeah, defensively
early on.
It was not good.
They were fighting with them early on, but then it just kind of slipped away once they started making subs. I don't know, the rotation was thrown off. But the good news is Lawrence moving to the bench, played 21 minutes, 12 points, 4-6 shooting, hit a 3 of 4 from the line.
When they were down 21 or whatever, he's the reason he had a 6-0 run himself. He was played hard. He did a good job. So he gets knocked a lot, but that guy was good.
We'll see if Hoiberg continues to tinker with the lineup, figure things out. Josiah Alex been struggling the last couple of games.
I feel like he just tried it in this game. I feel like you probably go back. I feel like you probably go back to Jamarcus starting, and then probably go back to before pre-injury Gary starting, and that's probably your best lineup. Yeah, honestly, at this point, just because, you can't have a starter have 2 fouls, 2 turnovers, and 1 block shot and minus 23. No. That can't happen. No score, no points. It's not real acceptable. I mean, there were, and Hoiberg said it post game, the lazy one-handed passes, trying to catch with one hand.
17 turnovers to 26 points for Northwestern.
Yeah, 26 points off turnovers. The game was 13.
That's the ball game.
You had 17 turnovers. You can get away with the offensive rebound numbers. 13's not terrible
because they only scored 5 points off.
Right,
Nebraska kept getting stops even on the second chance. So that was the difference.
Yeah, it just the turnover thing wasn't great. Now, hey, you got to find a way to get more than 3 offensive rebounds in a game. I don't know if it's a guard play, something. They just were sloppy, to be honest. Especially defensively in the first half, it was really bad. They weren't even communicating on basic flare screen stuff.
16 threes,
lack of communication, nothing. I mean, and I brought it up before. That short corner defense, man, what am I trying to say? Reverse side of the short corner where the ball gets to the lane. People are just cutting to that short corner on the opposite side, and it's working. Either it's working for a shot or it's working to keep the ball moving, and then the defense has to scatter and they're not recovering in time. It's a problem, and people are starting to. Maybe I'm just focusing too much on it or looking for it too much, but it feels like it's something that Nebraska's really struggled with defensively. Yeah, it's not good. And then the net rankings, I guess, they dropped back to 57 after that loss. They actually moved up after the Illinois overtime loss, so the metrics really liked them in that. But it's one of those things where now Northwestern's ahead of, back to ahead of Northwestern, and them are pretty similar, honestly. Don't you think?
Yeah, and that's why it's a big missed opportunity. Again, you almost get that one at Illinois.
Yeah, Nebraska went Northwestern went from 60 to 55. K-State moved up to almost a quad one. There's 75 in the net after that loss. So if that can get to a quad one, which it probably will, honestly.
I mean, if it's 75, it is now. It's just can they stay there? Are they going to
Well,
drop
I mean,
back
they're
down?
76.
Oh, okay.
So, like,
Yeah.
can they get to 70? Like, I think they'll eventually be, they'll be right in that conversation.
But to your point about the defense, they are 9th in conference play in just the defensive efficiency, according to KenPom. So defense has slipped as they've gotten in conference play, and teams start to scout them a little bit better and know the way they play. So going to find some way to be more sound than what we've seen so far.
And if we look at tournament resume thing, and it's one thing to like look at this point, you can really kind of look at it, right? So you have Michigan in Lincoln is the next game. Okay, Michigan's best player isn't playing because he can't travel. One of their best, I guess. Can't play because he can't go on the road. Then you have Penn State. Then you have that bye week, right, where you have the week off, which they need one.
So they've got 4 home games and 3 away games left, all against teams outside the top 65 in KenPom. So these should all theoretically be winnable games.
They are. Every one of them is a winnable game. But it's just
they got to do it.
You got to protect home court. They need to find 5 more wins somewhere. 4 to 5 more wins. 5 would be great. 4, you're probably okay. You gotta out of the 7 left, right? Is that right? 8 left, 9.
What you don't want to do is win the 4 home, lose the away, and then go one and done in the Big Ten.
That can't happen. Yeah.
That happens, then you're really sweating things out, especially because you a loss to Northwestern, who's kind of a bubble team
right in
with
there.
you.
Yeah,
you're starting to see in the Big East some of their
Northwestern's
bubble teams
non-con
are winning
wins
games.
a lot better than Nebraska's non-con wins. So it's just it's dicey right now. Now you're in the you can't, like you said, you can't go 0-1 in the tournament if you don't win one on the road. They have to find a way. Their toughest game, right now, honestly, left is probably Minnesota.
Yeah, with the way they've been playing.
Minnesota's playing actually, I think people haven't been paying attention to Minnesota, and they just think what they were supposed to be at the beginning of the year. Minnesota's actually playing pretty well.
Yeah.
Like right now. Ohio State, not. Michigan beat Wisconsin. Michigan has the same big win that Nebraska has. Beat Wisconsin at home.
And Michigan is the next one up. We'll talk about it next week. That is on Saturday.
And then you had the bye week. They need that. They need a break.
So, yeah.
It's been a tough go here, and they're the last – Hurrdat said this too. They're the last team in the league to have the bye week where they don't have a midweek game, which it's really late in the season for that right now.
Yeah.
So, it's good.
Wolverines coming to town. They were 2-9 in league play, and then knocked off Wisconsin.
That's unreal.
Which kind of wild. But like you said, Doug McDaniel did play in that game. He will not be playing in Lincoln on Saturday because of his 6-game road game suspension, which is not something I've ever seen before. I don't think.
I think it's an academic thing.
Yeah, which is weird. I don't
that they actually care. Yeah.
Well, just that it's just straight only road games. Like I don't know. Like I don't know how that. But that's just kind of weird. I don't think I've ever seen that kind of a suspension before. Like if struggling with class, he's not eligible, whatever, then you sit him. Like I don't know what. I guess they don't want him traveling and missing class or something. I don't know what the deal is there. But 16.8 points, 4.9 assists. He's one of the best players.
Clearly their best player. He's not traveling. Nebraska has to win this game.
Olivia Conroy, the Tennessee transfer, is their best player, about 16 a game, 7 boards, 2.5 assists. That'll be a tough matchup, but that'll be the Juwan Gary, Josiah Alec. Those guys are going to have to kind of hold him down as best as possible, and then Nebraska's going to need their guards to play well, to be solid, and kind of try to get a few of those guys going at the same time. You can't just have one guy go off and then everybody else struggle.
It's not a just layup, I think, against Michigan that people – no game left is just like, oh, yeah, they're going to win. Yeah. Like, this team has proven the inconsistency, particularly on the road. Clearly, they're 0-7. Like, you have to – every game is not just going to roll out of bed and win. It's the Big Ten. It's hard. Every league is hard. Clearly, winning on the road in college basketball right now is really hard. Yeah. Ask anybody. Like, everybody is losing on the road. It's virtually impossible.
So, and unfortunately for Nebraska, they've got they're at home this week, and we will talk about it next week on Nebraska Shoot Around.